So last week I dropped a review of the Harley Benton ST-20, and while I absolutely loved the guitar for the money, I felt that the pickups in it were a little bit weak. So in this video I'm setting out to fix that by dropping a set of Guitarfetish GFS Little Killer pickups in this guitar. These high output single coil sized humbuckers should help bring this guitar to life. And this video should give you a good idea of what to expect if you're going to swap out your pickups in one of these guitars. Let's dive in. Alright, so taking a quick look at the harness, it is your typical 5-way switch, good and solid. Yeah, volume, tone, and tone. You have a loose ground wire, which they give you a quick connect for. You could obviously solder it if you wanted to, but to keep it solderless, they give you a quick connect. You have your 3 pickup connections here and your input jack. So all in all, this will easily be a solderless install and should be pretty much seamless. So the 3 pickups give you an idea of what it looks like coming out of the box. Obviously you have instructions on how to use the harness or how to simply wire it in. Here's what the pickup actually looks like. You will not be using this. You can actually disconnect it. This is if you were not planning on using the solderless harness. If you're going to wire it directly in, then you would need this. But since we have the solderless harness, we're not going to need this piece. So with that said, this is our pickup, and it looks like we're pretty much ready to go. So obviously the first thing you've got to do is get the strings off the guitar and then work to get the pick guard off. If you're having trouble getting the knobs off, all you've really got to do is get a towel up underneath, kind of wrap it around, and just pull up, and the knob should pop right off. Use the edge of the pliers as you're removing the nut from the pot so that you don't scratch your pick guard. And for the record, you're not really working on a guitar until you're bleeding. So next we're going to remove the jack plate. The 12mm socket is the size to remove the nut around the input jack and makes it super easy to remove. This was where I really had the first problem, which was actually getting the pick guard off. Typically what I would normally do is lower the pickups down into the route, and then you'd simply be able to take the pick guard off. But the problem with this guitar that I ran into is the pickup routes aren't very deep. They're actually very shallow. So the pickup itself doesn't drop deep enough within the route to get the pick guard off without removing the neck of the guitar. Oddly enough, I was able to kind of force it off, but I really wouldn't recommend that. Particularly when you're going to have to take the neck off of the guitar anyway in order to get the pick guard back on with the pickups in it. You might as well go ahead and remove it now and save yourself the effort, and that's what I should have done to save myself a little bit of hassle. So from here we're going to be removing the electronics, and all you've really got to do is cut the ground wire and the input jack free. The ground wire is the black wire coming up through the back cavity. We got to go ahead and cut that free, and we're also going to want to remove a little bit of the sheath on that for when we use the 2-way connector that they included. One of the other issues that I did hear a few people had with this guitar was getting the input jack cable through the hole in the route. Some folks did have to drill this out a little bit. I was fortunate enough that although it was a little bit tight, as you can see here, I was able to finally get that cable through. So I didn't have to do it, but be prepared that you might. So with the input jack in and the jack plate back on, now all I really had to do was put the electronics into the pickguard. If you're using these pickups in a Harley Benton ST-20, the one thing you may have to keep in mind is that you may have to open the hole in the pickguard for the pickup. In fact, Guitarfetish even warns of this on their website, letting you know that you may have to slightly notch that out a little bit. The only pickup that was really an issue was the bridge pickup, but I was able to kind of just push it through. With that said, if I had had to, I would have just grabbed the Dremel and kind of notched it out a little bit. The neck and the middle pickup went in without an issue though. And it should be noted that if you're using a different guitar to put these into, you may have to notch out all 3. So with all the electronics in place, now it's time to wire everything up. Wiring up this guitar is simple enough. You have a female to male connection for the pickups, and you have 3 white wires coming off the 5-way switch, which will indicate which wire belongs to which pickup. Sounds simple enough, right? Wait, hold up. Did you see it? Let's rewind back a little bit and take a closer look. So here I am actually connecting the neck pickup to what should have been the bridge cable. And if you see here, I even actually point to the wrong wire. So I left this in as a reminder to always double check your work. I've wired Strats before, and yet somehow only had 3 cables to hook up, and I got it wrong. Thankfully, from previous lessons learned, I've learned to double check my work, and I was able to catch that before putting the guitar back together. Would have been a real shame to have to take the neck off, take the strings off, basically take the entire thing apart again just to fix something so simple. And also as a side note, don't work when you're overtired. At that point in the night, all I was thinking about was throwing these wires together so I could go get some sleep. And I know better than that. So make sure to double check your work and get some rest. And to help you along, here is the wiring diagram from Guitarfetish.com. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description to this as well. So from here, all that's left to do is to connect the ground wire with that connector that they included. We're going to insert one end from the pickguard and crimp it down. And then what we're going to do is insert the other end from the guitar and crimp that down. From there, we're just going to add some electrical tape to be extra cautious, make sure none of those wires are moving around in there, and we'll be good to go. Under normal circumstances, I would solder this, but in the spirit of keeping this kit completely solderless, we're going to use this connector. Now all that's left to do is connect the input jack to the tone switch, to the second tone switch, as you can see here, and we're off and running. Now we're ready to screw the pickguard back down. This is the point where I remove the guitar neck, but as I advised earlier, it would make your life a lot easier if you just did this from the get-go. So one thing you need to be mindful of from here is that you're able to make pickup height adjustments. One of the issues that I had was that the connector here, once the female's over it, it's even a little bit thicker, and the middle pickup, it was right underneath it, and because the routes are so shallow, I couldn't lower the middle pickup. If I hadn't caught this and assembled the entire guitar, I would have had to disassemble it to get the pickguard up and pull this wire through. So be mindful of that as you're assembling it. Before you put the neck back on, make sure you have clearance in the route to lower the pickups. So with the guitar reassembled, I'm going to throw some strings on it and give you guys a quick demo. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of how these pickups sound. Honestly, I think they sound great and are an excellent way to really bring a cheap guitar to life. The solderless quick plug system actually makes it really simple, and now that I've showed you all the spots that you might get hung up, it should be even easier. So I really hope this video helped you out, and if it did, please be sure to sub the channel. And if you're curious about the other Harley Benton guitar that I modded out with Guitarfetish power rails, be sure to check out this video right here. If you have any questions, by all means leave them in the comments, as I do try to answer all the comments that come through on the channel, and as always, thanks for watching.